Today I'm going to do a continuous line drawing using a marker, and the object that I'm going to draw is this Christmas ornament. It's a pear with a ribbon and a wire, so my drawing is going to be so beautifully abstract. So once your marker has hit the page, that's the moment when you start, and the idea of a continuous line drawing is that you don't stop until you're done. So you don't take your pen off the page till you're happy with the outcome. Okay, this is where I break the rule, and I stop and I switch ends. And the other end has this beautiful soft tip. So I'm going to try and do more line work, but I really want to just come in and add darks. No, not working out as line work, so I'm just going to enjoy myself instead. It is art after all, and my goal is always to enjoy myself, so that's what I'm going to do, just enjoy the process and enjoy making some dark areas. The tip is bending a fair bit, and that happened to my Tombow marker. And the Tombow marker cost twice the price of this one. So I don't know whether or not I have to go to much more expensive markers, because these ones are reasonably cheap. They're like $5 each, these ones. But you can pay way more. And I think for the Tombow one, I probably paid around $8, but I'm really only guessing at the price of that one. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It's going to look a little better when I spray it. Okay, put those aside. And this is just a bottle with a spray tip, and all I'm going to do is lightly spray it. Just centering it there. Moving some objects out of the way, because the spraying part does go spread a fair bit. I think the colour was black. And in that particular brand, this brand is Art Studio, there's really limited colours available, which doesn't matter at all to me. That'll do. And now I'll attempt to give it a bang on the table to encourage the lines to flow in this direction. And then what I'm going to do is let it just dry completely on its own. I'm just holding it on this angle. I've got my hand under one side of the board and just letting it flow. Just going to grab a tissue and mop up the excess, just so that I am in control of where the water goes. There, I quite like that. So what these markers do is release a dye, so it's not archivally sound, which means that in a while, if this is exposed to any sort of UV, it will fade dramatically. So that means that if it turns out to be a painting that I want to keep, and it turns out to be a painting I want to sell, I will have to redo all the blacks. And I'm happy with that. I don't mind what gets me there. I am really particular if I'm going to sell something to make sure it's archivally sound. Okay, here it is, completely dry. It was allowed to air dry. It's a really important part of the process if you're using water-soluble markers, is to let them air dry. And then it does all this beautiful patination. It's looking a lot like some sort of twisted beetle or a bumblebee, and absolutely nothing like the Christmas ornament that I began with. And I love that about abstract art, is that sometimes what you need to do is let go of what you had in mind first and instead go with what you've got. So it's got this beautiful, like, a section that looks a lot like the abdomen of a bumblebee, and this could possibly be a thorax, and that could possibly be the head. So I'm going to give this little abstract some sort of definition and see whether or not I can finish it off. This is the black marker that I used. It's a water-soluble marker. And what I'm going to do is come in on top of that and use Holbein's cobalt blue because it's beautifully transparent. Actually, the pack says that it's semi-transparent, but it's very light fast. It's an expensive pigment, cobalt blue, in any brand. And Holbein costs less than other brands, but are still beautiful quality. I've also got on my palette a little bit of Viridian green, so again, another transparent colour. So I'm going to use those two. I'll just zoom out so you can see my palette. Okay, I'm going to squeeze out some blue. Cobalt blue is so beautiful. And this brush already has some green on it from the painting I was just completing. I'm just going to leave that there. And I'm going to use this smaller quill brush, wet it a little bit and create a little puddle of cobalt blue. And then I'm just going to paint quite intuitively. I'm not going to do masses of planning. The whole beginning of this exercise involved no planning, so almost no planning. So I'm going to stick with that idea that this is an intuitive artwork. Just going to add some sectors of cobalt blue. I'm adding bits and then softening it off or blending it out, depending on how you like to look at that, with a barely damp brush. It just doesn't require much at all to soften out. Invent some eyes and do a green section there and a green section there. Maybe they go outside the line. I'm enjoying that. It looks a little bit like a wing, so I might make this look a little bit like a wing. Again, I'm not planning, overly planning. I'm keeping it as intuitive as I can. There's barely any water on this brush. and there's these beautiful stripes on the body, so I might enhance that look. Painting over the black, which, as I mentioned earlier, can only be a good thing, because if this ends up as an attractive artwork, or one that I'm happy with, then I might sell it, and I need to satisfy myself that the colours are going to last. So going over the black dye, I think it's dye, is a good idea. Right, and one over here as well, I think. And since I added a little bit of green there, can't resist adding some green on the middle section there. What I'm imagining might be a thorax. And again, I'm feathering out. So every time I'm adding paint, I'm feathering it out with a little bit of water. Right, I quite like that. I'm going to take a leaf and use a little bit of that green on my brush, a little bit of the blue, mix the two together, and do antennae like that. And again, feather them out with a little bit of water. And I'm going to say that it's done. I'm going to use the marker, the little fine tip, nope, that's the brush end, the little fine tip, that's the other end there, to sign it. Marion Chapman. And now I can remove the tape, which always helps with how a painting looks. It's a bit like framing, it just makes paintings improve somehow. Just taking all that off. And okay, and I'm done, and there's my little abstract. And I think that little bit of colour really helped improve it that little bit. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for being creative and sharing a creative moment with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.